Hey guys, so I'm going to talk to you about New Testament moral code, Machiavellianism, and Whitehead's process. That's chapters 7, 8, and 9. So New Testament code is almost the opposite of Old Testament code. Old Testament moral code was about how everyone is either good or bad. That's it. We've got only two opposite ends of the spectrum. We have nothing in the middle. New Testament code is really about embracing the middle, but at the disadvantage of sort of ignoring the ends. New Testament moral code says that everyone has the possibility of redemption. There really isn't this idea of things are either good or bad, right? Good or bad exists in all people and all things. And we kind of live in this gray area. And that's really lovely and wonderful. But part of what New Testament moral code says is that there really aren't these defining elements of good and these defining elements of evil. And if everybody kind of just lives somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, and people on this end of the spectrum and this end of the spectrum are all evaluated the same way, then an A plus and a D minus essentially mean the same thing. And so sort of where is the impetus for doing things if that's how things are structured, right? That's sort of one of the major questions of the New Testament moral code. Machiavelli, you should have already heard of. He wrote a lovely little book called The Prince, in which he very famously talks about how the end justify the means. So as long as you get what you want in the end, it really doesn't matter what kind of things that you do in order to make that happen. As long as you get what you want, if you need to beg, borrow, steal, murder, desecrate, whatever, as long as you get what you want in the end, then that's totally fine. So, things there to consider, like, is accomplishment negated if you have to do like really horrible things in order to get that accomplishment, right? Or is winning the ultimate goal? Whitehead's process is about how nothing is understood in the time in which it actually exists, right? And that things are only understood through hindsight. And so what we are doing in the moment when something is happening is just sort of our best understanding of how to deal with that. But in reality, we have no idea how to process things or how to deal with things until after they have happened, after we have had time to move away from them, after we have had time to look at them and look backwards at them and see what's happened. So everything in the world is living in this constant state of change and flux, right? And so there's no really kind of like definable idea of right or wrong. There's no really kind of definable idea about possible and not possible, because we're constantly living in a state of change. Everything that exists that we understand is constantly changing. That's why it's a process. So that as we move forward, we only begin to understand things by having a lot of distance between us and that event. So that one has a lot to do sort of with ruling classes and why things in society don't change the way that we want them to, or as quickly as we want them to.